Reeves' pumpkin earned him $15,000. It's the second heaviest pumpkin ever weighed in at the 40-year-old California event. The world record is 2,600 pounds. That was in Europe.
And everybody wants the seeds.
That's right, exactly. That's our time for now. News 3 at 5 starts right after this. Right now at 5, less than a month until the election. It is a tight race for governor. The results of the latest Marquette Law School poll.
Plus, why a suspended Wisconsin Badger football player who is charged with sexual assault is suing the university.
And a Rock County woman is upset with the town of Beloit after she says her property was ruined.
This is News 3 at 5.
First at 5, some breaking news. Multiple people are being treated after officials responded to a carbon monoxide leak at a food production facility in Columbia County.
According to Columbia County Dispatch, they received a report of someone feeling lightheaded around 3:15 this afternoon at Dawn's Food in Portage. When crews arrived, they found a carbon monoxide leak. Multiple patients are being treated and at least one person has been taken to the hospital. This is a developing story and we'll have more in our later newscasts and always online at channel3000.com.
New information tonight on what voters are thinking a month before they head to the polls in the midterm election.
The poll results are not consistent for members of each political party. Our political reporter Jessica Arp is here with the newest numbers from the Marquette Law School poll. Jess.
Yeah, the poll's director Charles Franklin said that the poll had a bit more Republican makeup this time, but the outcomes for Republican candidates were not the same in the governor and U.S. Senate races. In the gubernatorial race, Governor Scott Walker now leads State Superintendent Tony Evers 47 to 46%. That is well within the 3.9% margin of error, but also a swing from the 5-point lead Evers held in September. It's not the same result in the race for U.S. Senate. Senator Tammy Baldwin holds a 10-point lead over State Senator Leah Vukmir in that race. That's only 1 point down from the 11-point lead Baldwin had in September.
Baldwin has almost completely unified Democratic support. Vukmir's getting most of the Republicans, about 85%, but not in the 90% range that Baldwin is doing. But Baldwin is winning independents pretty solidly.
Franklin's numbers showed a swing of that independent support in the governor's race as well. In September, Evers was winning independents by 20 points. Now that's down to just 6 points. We also have a look at the race for Attorney General tonight. Republican AG Brad Schimmel leads challenger attorney Josh Kaul 47 to 43%, but a full 10% of likely voters polled here say they don't know how they will vote in that race yet. We do know from this poll that voters are also very enthusiastic about voting this year. 76% of Democrats say they're very enthusiastic about voting. 70% of Republicans do, and 59% of independents. Franklin says we will see another Marquette poll before Election Day.
All right, thank you, Jess.
You're welcome.
As we get closer to election night, we're examining where the candidates for Attorney General stand on the key issues.
Both Attorney General Brad Schimmel and former federal prosecutor Josh Kaul appeared in Madison this week to encourage their supporters to head to the polls. Our Rose Schmidt is in the newsroom to break down their views on issues that matter to you. Rose?
Well, Brad Schimmel is still in the lead over Josh Kaul, but Kaul has gained ground over the past month. He says he's hoping to gain more name recognition through TV ads he'll be rolling out soon, something Schimmel warned his supporters about this week. Surrounded by more than a dozen former assistant attorneys general, Democrat Josh Kaul says he's not surprised his name is still a bit unrecognizable to voters, but he's trying to change that.
We're going to continue traveling around the state and talking about the issues that matter to Wisconsinites and the importance of new leadership in the AG's office.
Kaul is challenging current Attorney General Brad Schimmel, who told members of the state's Chamber of Commerce this week that now is not the time to be complacent.
I am putting over 2,000 miles a week behind the windshield, making sure I'm meeting Wisconsinites, talking to them about their concerns, and making sure I get their vote.
Kaul and his supporters criticized the current AG for waiting so long to test the state's rape kits, but Schimmel has said he did it as quickly as he could. Schimmel is also emphasizing his work on making schools safer. As head of the state's Department of Justice, he championed and awarded grants from the state's Office of School Safety.
The plan is giving $100 million to schools to make their schools more secure, make them less vulnerable to someone who wants to commit violence there, but it also requires that they ramp up mental health awareness.
But Kaul says that approach isn't enough.
We need to do more than just have a one-time award of grants. I think we need long-term mental health program funding for mental health programs in our schools, but we also need some common sense gun safety measures.
Schimmel has said in the past that he would be open to arming teachers, but Kaul today says he believes that universal background checks would be a better option to helping keep schools safe. The two candidates are scheduled to meet for 3 debates this month, starting with the first one on Friday night.
Rose Schmidt in the newsroom. Rose, thank you.
Vice President Mike Pence is in Wisconsin to support Governor Walker's campaign, locked in a tight race with Tony Evers. The Republican governor is looking to Vice President Pence to give him a boost with the election less than a month away. The vice president holding a pair of fundraisers for the governor in both Green Bay and Eau Claire today. Meanwhile, Evers says Governor Walker is, quote, sending a clear message by campaigning with Mr. Pence in Wisconsin. Evers says their support for repealing the federal health care law would result in millions losing coverage. Governor Walker says he supports enacting a state law guaranteeing coverage for people with pre-existing conditions.
Let's get a check on the weather now. Gary Canolti is in the Weather Center. Gary?
Well, we have a cold front moving through southern Wisconsin right now with a line of showers that will make a big change in our forecast by this time tomorrow. Let's start out by taking a look at visible cloud track. You can see that line of thicker clouds just passing Madison, a little bit of a break out to the west, some sunshine before the clouds roll back in again. And you can see that narrow line of showers right along I-39-90 from around Rockford to Madison and then up toward Portage, and that is heading off toward the east. Behind it, no rain, in fact, some breaks in the clouds. High temperatures today made it into the lower 70s, but take a look at what's happening to the temperatures behind that band of showers. They go from the 60s to the 50s in eastern Iowa and southeastern Minnesota. Dew point temperatures go from the upper 60s back into the middle 40s, so the air is drying out, and we will see much colder weather, especially as we head into tomorrow night. Winds shift from the south to the west and southwest, and that will bring in much cooler air. Skies will be cloudy overnight. The shower chances will be confined to the next hour or so. Look for temperatures to drop to around 40 by tomorrow morning, and then for tomorrow afternoon, look for a high of only 46. That's about a 25-degree temperature drop from today. That's your First Alert forecast.
Gary, thank you. 2 occupied cars, including a taxi, were hit by bullets this afternoon after the passenger of a car opened fire on Madison's east side. Police said just before 1 p.m., a white Mercedes with Illinois plates opened fire near the intersection of East Wash and Fair Oaks Avenue. There were no reports of any injuries. Police say it didn't appear the 2 vehicles that were hit were the intended targets. It wasn't clear at whom or what that individual was firing his weapon. The officers have recovered 9 shell casings at the intersection. Nearby Hawthorne Elementary School was briefly locked down as police responded. 2
construction workers came to the aid of a 20-year-old woman during a daytime sexual assault in downtown Madison. Police said the woman was walking on East Johnson Street when she was attacked by a stranger. Police say the man groped the woman and began to drop his pants, and that's when she began yelling for help. The Good Samaritans were on some type of lift across the street on a job site, and while still up high, one witnessed the assault and yelled for the attacker to get away from the victim. One man stayed with the woman while the other tried to keep the assailant at bay. Officers located the man, 32-year-old Kevin Kieran, and arrested him on suspicion of fourth-degree sexual assault, lewd and lascivious behavior, and disorderly conduct. Police say both construction workers who helped the woman will be nominated for MPD awards.
New dash cam video shows the arrest of the Iowa County District Attorney. DA Larry Nelson was arrested earlier this month for operating while intoxicated. Deputies responded in Mineral Point after receiving an OnStar emergency alert. Nelson says the OnStar alert happened after he accidentally pushed the button on his vehicle. Officials decided the investigation into Nelson was a conflict of interest and requested the Grant County Sheriff's Office get involved. He was then arrested by Grant County deputies. Nelson released a statement following that arrest. He tells News 3 that he will enter a guilty plea. He says, quote, "Personally and professionally, I am deeply ashamed by my conduct. By accepting full responsibility and the penalties that are deemed appropriate, I hope to regain the community's trust."
Suspended Badger wide receiver Quintez Cephas has sued the university while he battles sexual assault charges. The alleged incident happened at his apartment in April, involving two women said to be intoxicated. In the Title IX investigation the UW conducted after the incident, his attorneys say his rights were violated. The university issued this statement today, quote, "We have not yet reviewed this lawsuit. However, we are confident that our processes related to these types of investigations comply with federal law." His attorneys say the UW asked Cephas to take part in its Title IX investigation, which attorneys say made him, quote, "either waive his Fifth Amendment right against self-incrimination or decline to participate, leading to the inevitable finding of responsibility and severe sanctions." They say that violates his right to due process. Cephas is due in court for an arraignment tomorrow.
A town of Beloit homeowner says she's had enough of what the township has done to her property.
This comes after what was supposed to be a routine construction project went wrong. Rock County reporter Adam Duxter joins us from our bureau at the Janesville Gazette with more on this call for action story. Adam?
Well, Eric and Susan and Gates and Kurt Pisa were enjoying vacation away from their town of Beloit home, and they say when they returned, they found their front yard full of holes. Now, they say it was supposed to be part of a routine construction project where a nearby sewer installation would be happening, but Gates and Pisa now say they're worried about their youngest family members potentially falling into these holes and hurting themselves. They say despite their best efforts, they don't feel like their concerns are being heard by the township.
I know the bottom line is money, but still, you know, they wouldn't want their yards to look like this. They'd find a way around it, and I think they can do that here.
Now, the company handling the project is R.H. Batterman, and the project manager is also the town's engineer. And in a statement today, he told me that they've fielded many calls from the residents concerning this project, but say the blame is also on the contractor, who they say are moving slowly. Now, still not something you would want in your front yard, and you'll hear more from Ann as well as more from the town coming up later at 6.
We will see you then. Thank you, Adam. The DOT says it needs 8 more dry nights to finish construction on the Beltline. Crews have been working between the hours of 7 p.m. and 6 a.m. since June, making pavement repairs in both directions while removing and replacing some of the concrete that has deteriorated over time. And because of the extreme Wisconsin weather conditions, crews it's a little bit delayed, but crews expect to have everything back to normal on the Beltline within the next 2 to 3 weeks.
More to come on News 3 at 5. Up next, a limo service operator is charged after a crash that killed 20 people in upstate New York.
Hurricane Michael makes landfall as a Category 4 storm. We'll have the latest from Florida.
And a brutal day on Wall Street. Interest rate fears triggering an 832-point dive for the Dow Jones. The Nasdaq lost 316 points. The S&P in the red for a 5th straight day, dropping almost 95. We'll be right back. Police say they have charged a limo service operator with criminally negligent homicide after a crash that killed 20 people in upstate New York.
State police say Prestige limousine operator Nauman Hussein was arrested. Prestige has come under intense scrutiny since Saturday's crash. 2 pedestrians and 18 people in a super stretch limo were killed. State officials have said the limo failed an inspection and was declared unserviceable in September. The company's lawyer has said safety problems were corrected, though the state says that is not true.
Hurricane Michael sweeping through Florida's panhandle, the strongest storm to make landfall in the continental U.S. since 1992.
The eye wall of the storm made landfall near Mexico Beach with sustained winds of 155 miles per hour. Natasha Chen has the latest on the storm.
Hurricane Michael is slamming into the Florida panhandle as a monster storm gaining intensity with the potential to cause catastrophic damage. Florida's governor issued a stark warning to any residents who did not evacuate.
Now the storm is here. The time to evacuate in coastal areas has come and gone.
Some residents who decided to stay are sharing photos of where they are riding out the storm. Many bridges connecting islands to the mainland are now closed.
What's the most surprising and the most astounding, to be quite honest, is how quickly the storm surge has taken over this town.
Officials warn of a storm surge that could reach 14 feet in some areas.
Storm surge is going to be the worst where the eye makes landfall. So not only is it going to bring 14 feet of ocean water and coastal flood inundation, there'll be wave action on top of that.
Tens of thousands of customers are already without power. Officials say it may not be restored for days, possibly weeks. President Trump received a briefing on the storm by FEMA.
I had a long talk with Rick Scott, Governor Scott of Florida, very well coordinated with all of the states.
Millions of people across 6 states are under hurricane warnings and watches as the storm is expected to blow over Georgia and the Carolinas in the next few days. In Panama City, Florida, I'm Natasha Chen.
And we turn now to our local forecast, and we are going to see quite the change when it comes to the temperature, Gary.
We certainly are. First thing, let's take a look at Michael to see where it is moving right now. There's the latest visible satellite imagery showing it moving onshore in the Florida Panhandle and now moving into the extreme southwestern portion of Georgia. Hurricane warnings remain in effect into much of southern Georgia as well as along the Florida coast. Tropical storm warnings as far south as the Tampa area and along the Atlantic coast from Jacksonville northward into the Carolinas. There's Michael over the last 12 hours is a strong Category 4, almost borderline Category 5 hurricane on landfall. Maximum sustained winds now down to 115 miles per hour, but it's already moved inland close to 100 miles into southwestern Georgia. Most of the rain on the front side of the storm, and the latest forecast path from the National Hurricane Center weakens it into a tropical storm, but winds still of 70 miles per hour as it passes through eastern Georgia and the Carolinas, and then eventually brings it out in the Atlantic Ocean and races it to the northeast as a subtropical system, and perhaps brings tropical storm force winds all the way out near Europe by the early part of next week. Now around here we had showers and thunderstorms over the last couple of days, about 1 to 2 inches of rain from Madison westward, some localized 2-inch plus amounts out toward Lone Rock and by Prairie du Chien. East and southeast of Dane County, the amounts generally less than a ½ inch. We're seeing a narrow band of showers, not even any lightning along it, but that band of showers pushing through Jefferson and Wellworth counties into the eastern portion of Rock County. That is where the cold front is. Local storm reports yesterday, some tornado reports over parts of eastern Iowa. We had some high wind and hail reports, including as far north as Green Bay. But again, that narrow line of showers is the leading edge of much cooler air that's starting to sweep in from the west. And we have an alert day in the forecast for Friday morning, not for severe weather, not for flooding, but because a widespread frost is likely with temperatures down around 30 degrees in Madison and probably mid to upper 20s for our northwestern viewers. And that could mean a hard freeze is possible, and that could really put an end to the growing season in most areas. Live view from the Queen Bee Radio Skycam in Platteville. You can see the clouds have moved back in there. A little bit of clearing here on the west side of Madison from the WISC Skycam, and the Edgewater Skycam in downtown Madison showing some sunshine behind that that band of showers. As we look at the almanac for today, our high temperature of 72 is this morning. The low temperature is now the current temperature of 64 degrees. The winds are out of the southwest at 7 and the dew point temperature at 62. But on weather track, you can see as Michael moves northward along the coast, you can see to the west, there's snow falling over parts of North Dakota and Minnesota behind that storm system. Winter storm warnings and winter weather advisories in effect for the northern part of the United States. For us, the showers will end. It'll turn breezy and cooler overnight. Low temperature dropping to 40 by morning. Tomorrow, cloudy skies in the morning will turn partly sunny in the afternoon, but it'll be breezy and much chillier. High temperature only at 46. That's a good 25 to 30 degree temperature drop. On future track, you can see how quickly those temperatures fall overnight, even though skies will be mostly cloudy. For tomorrow, look for the skies to turn partly sunny. Highs only in the mid 40s, and then with partly cloudy skies tomorrow night, those temperatures dropping to around or below freezing by early on Friday morning. Friday, we'll see variably cloudy skies, highs only in the middle 40s. As we look at the 7 to 10 day forecast, you'll see those temperatures remain on the cool side through much of next week. 51 on Saturday, a chance of showers Sunday and Tuesday. At least the rainfall amounts will be light and spotty. Most of the rest of the time, it'll be dry, and that's good news, at least in that department. As we take a look at first alert traffic right now, we have some delays on the Beltline. There's the live view from the DOT camera at Park Street. You can see the Beltline has had that band of showers go through, so the road surfaces are wet, and that's slowing down traffic a bit. Seeing delays in both directions between about Monona Drive, eastbound back as far as Verona Road, westbound to around Seminole Highway, and some also delays through downtown Madison. Right now, 21 minutes eastbound on the Beltline to the interstate, and 23 minutes back in a westbound direction on the Beltline. Heading out of Madison, 27 minutes down to Janesville on I-3990, 17 minutes to Sauk City on US 12, and 20 minutes to Sun Prairie on East Washington Avenue, US 151. That's your first alert traffic.
All right, thanks, Gary.
Ahead at 5, a rare condition in children can leave them paralyzed. We'll tell you how a new procedure is helping them regain movement. That's when we come back. Cases of paralysis in children from a rare illness have been reported in several states. Now a new procedure is giving families hope.
Chris Martinez shows us the unique way that surgeons are helping patients regain movement.
Mypele Burns was born with chronic asthma, but an attack just before her second birthday was different.
She takes the nebulizer, so that wasn't working, so I called my friend if she can take us to the emergency room.
She appeared to make a full recovery in the hospital, but when she returned home,
She was playing normal kid, and my husband noticed that her arm was kind of just hanging there.
Mypele had lost all function in her right arm. She was diagnosed with acute flaccid myelitis, or AFM, a rare condition that can be caused by a virus. AFM affects the nervous system, specifically part of the spinal cord. Muscles and reflexes are weakened, and some patients are left paralyzed.
About half the kids with AFM will strengthen up enough on their own that they won't require any form of surgical intervention for their nerves. The other half won't.
Dr. Mitchell Saruya at Children's Hospital Los Angeles is pioneering nerve transfer surgery to help these patients. For Mypele, doctors performed 2 surgeries, taking nerves from her ribs and diaphragm and diverting them to her arm to make her fingers, wrist, and elbow bend and straighten.
You have to get in there by 8 to 12 months, ideally, to fix the nerve. Otherwise, the nerve loses its connection to the muscle. And at that point, you run the risk of not being able to reverse the paralysis.
Therapists have been working with Mypele to train her nerves. It's been 18 months since the first surgery. The now 4-year-old has regained movement in her elbow and hand.
We had to teach her how to go up the stairs, how to get up. We try to treat her like a normal kid.
Doctors hope as she continues with therapy, she'll see even more improvement. Chris Martinez, CBS News, Los Angeles.
We'll have another check of our rapidly changing forecast when we return.
Big changes on the way.
Well, we got a line of showers moving through. That's really the front edge of the colder air that's moving in. Temperatures right now, 60s here, 50s out near the Mississippi River, and in the 40s, not far out to the west. So by tomorrow morning, look for highs in the mid-40s. An alert day in the forecast for Friday for low temperatures around 30, a widespread frost, maybe a hard freeze, and then those temperatures staying below normal through much of next week, but at least most of the time it'll be dry.
Gary, thank you. Thanks for joining us. We're back in 30 minutes for News 3 at 6. Stay tuned for the CBS Evening News.